Good morning, gang, and welcome to a brand new day. Fly on the Wall Productions bringing you the Aired Out podcast. We're streamed everywhere you get your podcasts on the web at airedoutvt.com. Facebook and YouTube is where we're live. Weather from NBC5 this morning, either side of 50 for most of Vermont. The cool spot, 45 in Springfield this morning. But we're looking at a pretty nice day, 67 later today with a mix of sun and clouds, 48 tonight with a few clouds. Wednesday, tomorrow, cloudy and 61. Thursday and Friday, the rain is going to be moving in, 60s. I'll be making some soup at my house and some relish, some more relish. I probably smell like onions and garlic and zucchini this morning because I've been making relish for the last couple of days and was back at it last night for a couple of hours. I'm all done with making relish for the rest of my life. But weather-wise, good news. Weekend looks good with sun and clouds and 70s. People in the Panhandle in Florida are bracing. Really, the whole Big Bend region getting ready for this Gulf Coast storm. Helene is her name. Wednesday night impacts, hazardous travel, they're saying, and flooding, imminent flooding. So all we can do is watch Helene and see where she goes. Birthdays today, long list, lots of local birthdays. Kelly Straub. Let's see, Heath Farnsworth, Lynette Rodriguez, Carissa Gilbert, Steve Plouffe, Stephanie Linton, Kelly Pecor, Dave Murphy, Dan Winters, Amanda Taylor, great lady, Janice Alexander, Miriam Clark, Gina Tone, and Christine Clark, all celebrating birthdays. The FBQ this morning, Facebook question of the day in the news about EEE. It's everywhere. Are you starting to get concerned about this? Is it getting your attention? And if so, what's your level of concern on a scale from 0 to 10? How concerned are you? I've chatted with people who aren't concerned at all, and I've had others who are like, once 4 o'clock comes, get the kids in the house and let's close all the windows. And yeah, there's a lot to be concerned about with regard to this. Let's jump into the news this morning out of Pawlett, Vermont. Larry Seiler's got the latest. Good morning, buddy. How are you?
Yes, good morning. Good morning, everybody, and good morning to the Aired Out family and the Ableton on Air live family. Good morning, everybody. According to WCAX, and this is very concerning, extremely concerning to Vermonters, there was a triple murder, the Pawlett murder, triple murder suspect. The extradition could take over a month. Can you believe it? It's very bad. It could take more than a month before the man accused of the triple murder in Pawlett faces a judge in Vermont. Brian Grossman Jr., 22, was arrested in his home state of New York last week, and that's where he remains. Grossman Jr. told police, according to WCAX, that on September 15th he went for a walk and then returned to his family's Pawlett home, where they've all been shot to death. Police said that Grossman Jr. on Friday, he was arrested for the murders of his father, Brian Grossman Sr., and who was 46, and his stepmother Erica Grossman, 41, and his stepbrother Colin Taft, 13.
It's a horrible story, Larry, and I think many Vermonters are questioning this morning why um, it's going to be taking so long. And I know that there's a process here. The governor's got to look into it. And, man, there's a lot of red tape that's got to be cut through to move along with this process of getting him extradited back to Vermont.
I mean, I know that the process. I know if the person was an international, like if he came from an international country, that takes time. But this is only going state to state, so it shouldn't take that long. That's the issue there. And investigators also say that the home was covered in blood, firearms, and shell casings,
Yeah.
and his story was very inconsistent.
Yeah. What else do you have for us this morning, Larry?
Yes. The triple E virus is very concerning as well. As a matter of fact, Governor Hochul in New York is very concerned, and she basically did a state emergency when it came to the triple E virus, and it's very concerning for Vermonters also with state parks and people closing their windows and that kind of issue. The mosquitoes. Mosquitoes present a problem. So, that's the biggest thing in terms of triple E.
Yeah, some of these state parks have decided or are in the process of deciding whether or not they're going to change their hours of operation. But the big story this morning is the person with the first human case of Eastern equine encephalitis in New York since 2015 has died, and as you said, the state's health commissioner has issued a declaration of imminent threat to public health for Triple E. That's big news out of the region, and big concern here in the Green Mountain State for sure. The other story that we're following this morning: demonstrators yesterday called for the state to cover the cost of health care for more Vermonters. A big rally on the State House. And all of this, coming in a week where we've had some big changes happening with healthcare and rural hospitals here in the state of Vermont. A huge concern about what's going to happen, what the future is going to look like, and even the concern out of Randolph, and a consultant suggesting that Gifford Medical Center may be converted over to a long-term care facility and starting to reduce the number of medical procedures there. I don't think that will happen. At least I hope that won't happen, but that's a big story, and we're watching it. National headlines: United States seeking to charge additional numbers of charges against this guy who's been staking out Trump at the golf course. Apparently, not only has he written letters, but also has had this thing planned out for a long time. So, attempted assassination charges against the guy who's been staking out Trump. Unbelievable. Boeing said that it has extended its best and final offer with higher pay and other increases, but the union rebuffed it and saying that it is not a negotiated proposal. So that's another big story that's going on right now in our great nation. We're going to shift gears and bring on Nicole D. Domenico. I think it took me, I don't know, how long did it take me? A couple of months to say your last name. It took a while. But I'm so glad you're back here.
I'm so glad to be back. Thanks so much for having me.
You have had, since the last time we had you on the air, you have had quite a life, quite a story, it's been what? Probably at least a good year and a half, maybe 2 years.
Since I was here, yeah.
Since you were here.
Yeah, I think it was 2 Februaries ago.
All right. And now you're driving the bus at Good Beginnings.
Yes, you could say that.
The executive director,
Yep.
which maybe there should be 2 of you because this is a job.
We have an amazing but small staff. Myself and 2 other women are running Good Beginnings of Central Vermont, and we also have an amazing board. So we are a very small nonprofit that started over 30 years ago in Northfield by 3 mothers who recognized that hospital stays after birth were getting shorter and shorter, and parents weren't really getting the kind of support that they needed when they went home with their new bundles of joy. And so the program began with what is really our kind of flagship program that we're known most for, which is what's called the Postpartum Angel Program, where recruited, trained, vetted volunteers will spend 1 to 3 hours a week for 12 weeks with families with new babies at no cost to the family. None of our programs cost anything to the families, and there's no qualifications required. This is for any and every family in Central Vermont who wants just a lending hand,
whether they've got health insurance or not.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with any of that. We want to help any new family, any family with a new baby. We believe that, we really cherish the role of parents and caregivers, and we feel that if they're supported, that will help to lead to a more resilient community. All
right. Stand by, because I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you how this whole thing is funded, because this can't be. There's got to be some financial backing and support. But first of all, let's go backwards a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's if you don't mind sharing the story of how you yourself needed and relied on Good Beginnings.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's quite a story.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be happy to share it. So, Good Beginnings has played a really big role in my life personally. And I first learned about Good Beginnings from one of the founding members, Sarah Conlon Nevin from Northfield, and she approached me when I was working at Norwich University. As you might recall, I retired there last year from there after like 22 years. And I ran what became the Center for Civic Engagement. And Sarah had approached us about, recruiting volunteers, student volunteers or faculty and staff who might want to be postpartum angels, or who might just want to help with any of their special events, helping to paint the office, a number of things, fundraising efforts. And so I would oftentimes help to recruit student volunteers and others to help Good Beginnings. And so I knew kind of loosely what Good Beginnings did, and I understood its mission. But, fast forward, 17 years later, when I was pregnant with my first and only child, little Ellie Belly, who's now 6.
Is she really 6?
She's 6. She just started first grade this year. Yeah. She's a little peanut. She, my little girl changed my life, and it started way before really, she came along. I was 40 when I got pregnant. I was 2 weeks shy of my 41st birthday when I had her. And even though, her dad was there, she's got an older stepbrother, I didn't have any family in the area. And even though I'd been really involved in the community, I was feeling pretty isolated. And somebody had reminded me about what Good Beginnings does. And so I ended up connecting with them a few months before giving birth. And I said, yeah, I would love a postpartum angel if I could get one. And so actually the person who was matched with me Sue McMartin had been the executive director of the Brown Public Library in Northfield, so she was another community partner that I knew through my connection at Norwich. And she had since retired, and she became my PPA, as we refer to them. And she met with me before I gave birth. We talked about kind of like what my hopes were and like how I felt I might best utilize her services. And so we developed this closer relationship even before Ellie arrived. And then when Ellie did arrive, I could look forward to Sue visiting every week during my 3-month maternity leave, which I was really fortunate to have parental leave. But it was very, very lonely. It was a very lonely and isolating time. And
Was Ellie your first and only?
First and only.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is I'm picking up what you're saying
Yeah.
here. This is a big deal.
At 40 years old, I didn't know if it was going to be in the cards for me, and I was so ecstatic when I found out I was expecting, but it was also very intimidating because I didn't grow up with younger siblings. I had babysat and things like that, but I didn't know what it was like to be around a baby, and any child that young and being responsible. It was a very vulnerable time for me.
Sure.
And so after meeting with some of the staff at Good Beginnings, taking one of their classes, we offer this what's called Journey into Parenthood class, which prepares you for, I had taken childbirth classes, but this was to prepare you for what to expect when you came home with a baby.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to kind of set up your little nest area, right? How are you going to deal with things? How are you going to deal with the unexpected? And so they really helped to prepare me. And then they have, we have these caregiver circles. They're basically like babes in arms circles where, parents, it's oftentimes mothers will be there just sharing stories and experiences and a lot of support for one another. At some of our caregiver circles now, we're starting to see more dads come, which has been really, really great too. And so it's an unbelievable organization that helped me at a time in my life when I was my most vulnerable. And so to be able to step into this role has been very humbling and just such an honor.
There's so many tentacles here. I mean, this is something that is not just kind of a one and done type thing. I mean, there's like you said. I mean, there's dads get involved, there's not only programs, but there's also events. I mean, I was scrolling through the Good Beginnings Facebook page. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, there is you guys have stuff going on constantly.
Yeah, we actually this year, thanks to an opportunities grant through Building Bright Futures, we've been able to actually expand some of our programming to include our workshops. We've been able to go from 6 to 12 workshops this year that, again, are free. Our last workshop that we just had on September 7th, we actually invited NUM, so Emergency Medical Services staff from Norwich University, who are qualified to teach infant first aid and CPR class. And we had, I think, 27 people registered for that course.
That is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that was held at Brown Public Library. It was really a great success. And the feedback that we get from these workshops, again, sometimes, our staff teaches them ourselves, and sometimes we find experts in particular areas. So we always have programming coming up. We also love to promote our community partners programming. So I think the one that you have up right now is from the Children's Room in Waterbury.
Yes.
They've got a great event coming up, the Barn Dance.
I see that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow. I mean, there is just so much going on.
There really is. We love to promote the Kids Trade and Play on the second Saturday of every month. We love to promote what the Family Center of Washington County is doing. There are some amazing organizations, and
Family Center of Washington County is unreal.
Unbelievable. My daughter actually attended there from 3 months. So after I was done with my parental leave, I was lucky enough to get her in, and from 3 months old until she attended preschool there. So, and she still goes there for special events and still connects with all of her friends who she grew up with. She has a weekly date with a friend of hers who she's known since she was 6 months old.
One of the things that got my attention was that there's activities. There's something for dads, and I'm trying to find it here. Over there.
Yeah.
I can't find it, but it's
one of our community partners who's actually based up in like the Williston area, Burlington area, is called the Dads Guild.
Okay.
And Keegan over there, who's the executive director, he's beginning to kind of have his programming reach out to different parts of the state. And so he's kind of, welcome to fatherhood.
Yes.
WTF. Welcome to fatherhood.
WTF. I love it.
Yeah. He's doing some really great stuff. And we're looking forward to partnering with him and his organization more in the future.
And that's coming up this weekend on Saturday.
Yeah, that event is. Yep.
Wow. That's a warrior right there.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know that movie? What movie that's from?
I do.
Yeah.
I can't remember it.
I think it.
That guy. I can't even remember his name now.
It's
but he was
Zach.
hysterical.
I think it's Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
He is his. That was one of the funniest movies I've ever seen.
Oh,
in my life.
I know. Yeah, they were smart to use that on the promotion, but yeah. So Dad's Guild is doing some amazing things. The Children's Room. We have a lot of other community partners too that we do some really important work with. We're one of the founding members of a coalition called the Central Vermont Perinatal Mental Health Coalition.
Okay.
And so what we do, other participating members of that include Deb Sanguinetti from Vermont Department of Health, Maria Rossi with Washington County Mental Health Services, our friends at Central Vermont Home Health Hospice, the folks up at UVM Health at CVMC. So there's a number of, and so many more, but there's a number of organizations who are really trying to, and they offer us references. We refer families to their resources. And, one of the things that is oftentimes not talked about, but has been a focus of ours in the past and still today, is about the myths and kind of the information out there around the mental health of parents.
Yeah.
For birthing mothers, prenatally through postpartum, there's postpartum depression and various anxiety disorders that can develop. I personally experienced those, and it was, again, when I say it was a vulnerable time, I mean, it was for me personally, it was kind of a scary time. And, if I hadn't had my friends and these folks at Good Beginnings there to really support me and kind of guide me through this and help me realize that this was not abnormal. This was actually quite common.
Yeah.
I would have been even more scared and overwhelmed than I already was. So, these kinds of things, I don't have the statistics in front of me, but on our website, we have lots of articles about postpartum depression and all the other topics that surround that. But it's a thing that a lot of parents are dealing with, and not just mothers, but fathers too.
And it can last for quite a while.
It can, and it can manifest itself in different ways. And when I was feeling things at my worst, there were scary thoughts, just kind of intrusive thoughts. Depression. I was always checking on I always wanted to check in on my baby. I wanted to make sure that she was breathing all the time.
Yeah.
And it was just very, it was so much anxiety. And so if we can normalize it, if we can talk about it, if we can share our experiences more candidly, and it does so much good.
When you have a baby, though, it's there's the outside circle that it's all, there's a lot of fun and excitement and colors and this and that and
all
the
the
clothing
new stuff.
And all the positive stuff.
All the fun
but
stuff.
Behind the scenes, there can be some really crazy, dark stuff going on.
Yeah, there can be, and there oftentimes is. And the fact that we don't talk about it means that, it oftentimes kind of lays this feeling of shame around it, right? Like, and people don't want to, think that there's something wrong with them when they're new to parenthood or they're experiencing these challenges. They don't want to, they don't want to let that stuff out necessarily.
Sure.
And so for those of us who have experienced those things and who can retroactively talk a little bit more about it and
Yeah.
just be really honest, it helps to just normalize things in a way that, just lets you catch your breath, allows you to just remember that this is temporary and there are services. There are so many resources in Central Vermont. I can't tell you how lucky I feel to have delivered my child in Vermont. Just Central Vermont alone has so many amazing resources. All the programming for, from 0 up to up to 12 years old and beyond. I mean, there are so many resources, programming, educational events, fun family events.
I see this bosom buddies.
Oh yeah,
all over your page.
Yeah, we have so Heidi Eames, who's one of the lactation specialists over at what we know of as CVMC. She comes one Sunday a month and has a group of mothers who are nursing their babies. Maybe they want some lactation support, but it's just an opportunity. It's a social gathering.
Sure.
For these group of women to get together and to learn more, whether they're having challenges or whether they're, doing really great with breastfeeding.
And sometimes things can be going very, very well, and then all of a sudden, they're not going as well.
Right. Yeah, the unexpected can always show up. And so Heidi is a wonderful resource, and there are others up there as well. But they actually just had a Bosom Buddies this past Sunday in what we call the Nest. So our office is located on River Street in Montpelier, and it's very accessible by the bus route, and it's right there kind of next to Stoveworks.
Yeah.
And so
I've seen the sign.
Yeah, and we've got this kind of like living room set up with a baby changing table and coffee and tea and various things for the parents and caregivers who come by. Sometimes they'll just come by just to change their baby or to nurse their child.
What about the moms that are like, oh heck no, I'm not doing this in public. I'm miserable. My hair is. I want to be at home in privacy.
Yeah, I mean, so
you got people that can come to the house.
So we don't personally for that particular need, but we certainly have this interconnected web of community partners who we can make referrals to, where we can get families the support that they need.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We have our program director, Jessica Zonarich, is so tapped into all of not just the organizations, but the specific people within the organizations who parents can reach out to when they need extra assistance.
I think, isn't it Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice that has a program that does that?
They have a wonderful home visitation program as well. Yep.
I also saw this on your page, Building Bright Futures. They've got an event at the Labor Hall here in Barrie on Friday, October 4th to support families and households who have had it rough.
Well, they're going to be holding a candidates forum and allowing any candidates who want to come and participate to answer some questions around some of the issues that are, really pertain to families.
Yeah. So many of us have been affected by the stress of the floodwaters, even residual stress. Even, for folks who have not necessarily had a flooded home or a basement or property damage, but just have had friends and or family that have been affected by it and need some support. So we're going to be pushing this. We're going to be talking about it an awful lot. You've also had some activities over at the State House or on the lawn there out front.
Oh yeah, and we've participated in some other organizations' events there as well. But we were able to kick off our inaugural event last May called It Takes a Village. And this was an event that was actually conceived by my predecessor, Gretchen Ilias, and some members of the Central Vermont Perinatal Mental Health Coalition. Good Beginnings used to spearhead, along with the coalition, an event called Climb Out of Darkness. And it was done in partnership with Postpartum Support International. And
wasn't it always in September, I think?
I believe it was in September,
Suicide Prevention Month.
Yes, exactly. And so when they decided to kind of veer away from that event and they wanted to try something new. They came up with this theme of "It Takes a Village," and which is, you know, a common expression that we hear all the time. It's an old adage, but it is universally applicable. And so prior to her departure from Good Beginnings, Gretchen had plans to put this event on, and due to a number of circumstances, it wasn't able to go. So in my first year, which I just actually came through my first year at Good Beginnings, which is unbelievable. Yeah, we had some funding to put the event on, but it would have to happen in that fiscal year. So we decided to host it on the day before Mother's Day on the State House lawn, and we had like between 300 and 400 people attend. It was a massive success. We had about 24 organizations there tabling, but then we also had, you know, bouncy houses, and we had some programming up on the stage, and it was our first attempt, but it was certainly a huge success that we're going to be building from in this upcoming year. So we already have it planned again, and we already have the State House lawn reserved for May 10th. Mark your calendars. It'll be from 11 to 2. And so we're really, really excited to do that again.
I was going to ask you if that was going to be an annual thing. So that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I remember talking about it a lot as we were getting close to that.
Yep.
And I just had Vic in here yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about the Big Fall Festival coming up this weekend. So you guys are going to have a presence there as well.
Yeah, we're hoping to.
Good.
Yeah. So a lot, you know, part of our challenge is that we are, like I mentioned before, we're a small organization, and we are staffed with 3 part-time women. And while we do have a really involved and active board, you know, we can't do everything.
Yeah.
We can't be everywhere or do everything. What we do we do well, but we are hoping to be able to expand you know, our programming and our services and our presence, but we honestly have such a need for volunteers right now, because the babies are just keep coming, and more families have been learning about our services. And so it's one of those situations where it's like, be careful what you wish for. We want everyone to know about our programs and services, but
Sure.
that's only sustainable if we have the volunteers to, you know, kind of enact the programming that we have. And so we are always looking for postpartum angels. So if you know anyone who loves to hold babies and really be there for a family who is, you know, just feeling the normal, typical challenges of parenthood, then we would love to speak with them. And we have a lot of information. I think it's our landing page, right? When you get to our our website rather, we're really making a push for volunteers. And we're also looking for volunteers for other things too. People who might want to help in the office, or people who would like to help us with special events. Because each of us who happens to work at Good Beginnings also have small children. And so we're always trying to, you know, strike that balance between, you know, do I work this weekend or do I spend time with my family this weekend? Sure. It can be challenging. But thanks to organizations like Building Bright Futures, who has given us a very generous grant to help expand our programming, and the Terrell Foundation, and just so many more. You know, you asked earlier, you know, how are we funded? And the fact is that we receive some funding from grants. We receive a number of individual donations. We have some businesses who donate, and through town funding. And so we you know, it really is kind of my full-time job and a part-time role to just continuously be seeking out financial support to make sure that we can continue to offer our programs and services for free. Anyone can donate. So when some people attend some of our free events, like free workshops, some choose who are in a position to give, you know, whether it's $5, $25, that's all extraordinarily, you know, welcome and appreciated, because that just means that that's like paying it forward. That means that we can continue to offer those things for free.
What's the reach on Good Beginnings of Central Vermont? Are we specific to county?
Well, we primarily serve Washington County, but we've also served families in Lamoille and in Orange, even in Chittenden now. And so very, very kind of slowly but surely, the word is spreading, and we have to be really careful about, not overcommitting and making sure that if we are going to grow, it's going to be very deliberate, very intentional, and in a measured way, because we don't want to kind of grow expectations if we can't really deliver on those services. So
the main hub, if you will, is, you said, on River Street?
Yes, our office space and what we call the nest, which is like kind of within and attached to our office space. It's like the living room space where people can drop in just for, if they want to connect or have questions, or if they just want to even change their baby or nurse their baby and they're en route, on running errands. That's also where the Bosom Buddies group meets. That's right there on River Street.
Are there employment opportunities, or, we know there's opportunities to volunteer. This is such a critical organization, but what about employment?
Currently, no.
Yeah.
But we, as I mentioned, it's possible we could, as we expand.
Yep.
And if we can kind of get to that next level of fundraising support, then we might be able to. Just off the top of my head, I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but I can think of a number of positions that we would love to be able to hire for sure.
I bet.
Yeah, our programs director, who I mentioned before, Jessica, she is a one-woman show, and Stace Fulweiler Wood, who is our newly hired communications and operations coordinator, both of them are just unbelievable at what they do. And so that's why we're able to make this work, right?
Yeah.
But both of them could use not only additional hours for themselves, but, assistance.
Sure.
And so, the sky's the limit as far as what we would be able to do with the right resources.
What's a typical day for Nicole T. Domenico?
Oh, for me? Do you mean in relation to my role at...
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I start the day off by dropping my daughter and the neighbor's kid off at school, and then I'm usually in the office by 9. And both Stace and Jess are typically already there working hard. And some of the stories that I get to hear about, because I'm not doing the direct programming. I'm not interfacing directly a lot with the volunteers or with the families that we serve. Every once in a while, if they happen to come in, I get to meet them. So I've only been able to hold one baby in the last year. I was really hoping I'd be able to hold more babies, but some of the stories of some of the families that I hear about, just as we're kind of talking through, as Jessica, learns about a family or a family gets referred to us, and she's trying to find, a really great match for that family for postpartum Angel. Some of these families are really, really struggling. And so again, like parenthood in general, on the surface, everything is beautiful and clean and shiny and new and happy and fun. Some of these families are experiencing some hardships that I could never imagine. And so, so I know that for Jess, it can, and she just has she's one of these people who, if you get to pick the members of your team, you want her on it. It doesn't matter what the team is, whether you're playing rugby or whether, it doesn't matter. She's just a doer, and she will roll her sleeves up, and anything. She's got one of these emergency medical services, kind of can do. You just go to them for anything because that they're going to take care of you. That's who Jess is. And so, and she's also a doula. And so she has all this experience, both personally and professionally. And she's able to take it. She's able to hear these stories and not somehow let it really affect her. I'm sure it does affect her, but she just has such a professional way about her, that she is, I know, a great resource and comfort to all the families that she interacts with. So, yeah, she's unbelievable. You should have her on the program next.
I would love to. It's remarkable how you've gone full circle here. Starting out as someone who so greatly needed Good Beginnings, and over the last 6 years. 6 years later,
Yeah.
look at this. Look at where you are. I mean, you're the executive director. That's remarkable.
It's absolutely a dream job, and
such a strong testament.
Oh my gosh, I can't say enough good things about Good Beginnings. And I realize that I'm biased, and I'm a little bit partial, but at the same time, I've gotten to personally experience now and witness for so many others the impact that our programming and our volunteers have had on our local families. These are our neighbors. These are, and so it's been quite an education, to be honest with you. I think that when I first stepped in, I hadn't been an executive director before of a nonprofit. I had been studying to become one, and I had all sorts of other leadership experience. But the small nonprofit,
that's a whole different animal.
Oh my goodness. It's a really interesting field. And I have so much respect for my peers in similar roles throughout Central Vermont and beyond, because it is a labor of love. And, regardless of how many hours you're getting paid to work, you're kind of always, you're eating, sleeping, breathing it, because you're passionate about what you do.
Sure. Do you feel that the state of Vermont recognizes Good Beginnings as much as they could and should?
Well, I think that it does. I think that, we're kind of at the same table as a lot of really amazing organizations, and our reputation has, over the years since our founding, it's grown not only in popularity, but our reputation kind of precedes us. And that was one of the things I was so impressed about with Good Beginnings. The more I learned about it, on this side of things, was that despite how small we are, taken just as seriously as any of these other larger, more established organizations. And it's really because of all the leadership and all of the consistent support that we have an amazing team, but we also have an amazing, I'll call it like an alumni base, right? All of the families that have been impacted by us, they then become, our ambassadors. All of the postpartum angel volunteers, help to spread the word. I mean, so it is decades of building this. And I was sharing with, we recently had a board and staff retreat, actually over at the Reynolds House. And I just want to plug that really quick because Jeffrey is such a great place. And we really enjoyed ourselves there. But one of the things that I kind of led with was saying, I used to consult nonprofits, and I have never witnessed, much less participated in a nonprofit that is so driven by love and by true interest and commitment to community building than Good Beginnings. And helping others. I mean, that's what it's all about. And so it's been so inspirational. And this is the kind of thing this is the kind of organization, this doesn't happen very much. This was a grassroots organization that started out really small in a rural town in Vermont. And this kind of success, this kind of sustained success over this kind of time does not happen very often. I've seen lots of nonprofits come and go. And there's so much work that this is, in other words, our success as an organization is not a coincidence. This has been the result of some really steadfast, both staff members and board members who have...
And volunteers.
Volunteers for sure. I mean, they're our backbone. Yeah, they are our backbone, 100%.
How long has Good Beginnings been around?
Since 1991.
Damn, that's a long time.
Yeah, 33 years now.
Wow.
Yep.
And consistently growing.
Yeah, we're small but mighty, and we're still growing. And again, like I was saying about growth before, any growth that we kind of take on and attempt is always very intentional, and it's to make sure that we're managing expectations, so that we don't bite off more than we can chew. We want to make sure that what we do well.
Do it right.
Yeah.
Just glancing at your calendar here, which of course, goodbeginningscentralvt.org. Just click on events, but it's also on your social media. It's on your Facebook page. Look at this, baby and caregiver meetup in Marshfield tomorrow morning. Not just for moms.
Yeah, no, it's not just for moms. It's for dads, other caregivers. Sometimes we have grandparents or we have nannies. It's for anyone with a baby. We typically say 0 to typically 18 months is usually the where it's capped at, but also older siblings sometimes attend. And so the exciting thing about Marshfield, and I'm really glad that you mentioned that, is that when I talked about the opportunities grant that we received through Building Bright Futures, this was one of the expansions. So in addition to the workshops, we were able to expand our baby and caregiver circles to 4 other communities. So we've always held one in Montpelier. And this is a bit of a pilot. This is a bit of kind of a test. We've always held one in Montpelier, and we've actually moved. We've outgrown our own nest for the caregiver and baby meetups. So we are now meeting at what is now the Greenway Institute, which was Vermont College campus. Right, in the summers we always meet on the green, but now we're going to be meeting in what's been known as Noble Hall. So that's new and expanded, because now we have room for so many more families. And we've had 12, 15 people. So it's been really great. But Marshfield is one of the areas that we're moving into with a new circle. We have one starting up in Barrie sometime soon as we have that information, the location and timing solidified. Northfield, which also makes full sense, given how much they're growing, and it's literally the birthplace of Good Beginnings.
Sure.
So what did I say? I said we still have one in Montpelier, Marshfield, Northfield, Barrie, and Waterbury. At the Children's Room, they're going to host. We're going to be hosting at their space, but we're partnering with them for that. So we're really excited. And so we're going to be able to offer a different caregiver and baby meetup each day of the week for 1 to 2 hours. And so if families have the means to get there, they could theoretically go to one every day. And we're curious to see how it's going to go. We're curious to see if folks are going to attend, and then that'll give us information on future expansions. This is one of the examples I mean by, we were given these grant funds to kind of test this theory out, that there's more demand for these caregiver circles. And so this is our way of kind of testing it out in other places. And
just, get out of the house. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest messages to push. Don't just.
If you can avoid isolation, it's so recommended, because the kinds of support that are out there just through peer support.
Right.
These circles are being led by moms who've probably benefited in most cases from these circles.
And some are first-time moms, and some are having their second and third child.
Yep.
Not that it's necessarily any easier, but they get it.
Yeah.
And man, if you're showing up in your sweatpants,
oh yeah, it's a completely non-judgmental zone. It's
with some fresh baby vomit on it. They get it, though.
Yeah, they get it. They get it. Absolutely.
Your hair doesn't have to be perfect.
Nope.
Just and you guys really don't expect all of these babies to not be crying. I mean, that goes with it.
It happens.
We all get it.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
But it's just a tremendous opportunity for people to get out. There's some amazing other meetups that typically are geared more towards, the 2-3-year-olds. It's a little bit more activity based. These caregiver circles distinguish themselves a little bit because it's really intended for babes in arms.
Yeah.
And so it's really an opportunity for these parents and caregivers to connect in a way that they might not have other opportunities to do so.
Relatability.
Yeah.
It's key.
Absolutely.
We all we're all on the same page here with what you guys do. Any other? We talked about what's coming up in May.
Yeah.
Are there any other outside of your regular schedule events that are in the upcoming months here?
Well, I know that there's going to be another Journey into Parenthood workshop scheduled pretty soon. We also have a workshop that's going to be a kind of a baby and me yoga class. Okay. So we're really excited about that, and that can be found online. Saw the graphic on that. Yep. So that's online. And, of course, the meetups are all kind of starting to kick off this week and into October, and those will be weekly in all those towns I just mentioned. And, we're about to kick off our annual appeal, which I will make a shameless plug for. Because, and you can donate right on our page, because, again, we really rely on the generosity of our community to be able to support this work and what we do. And so, yeah, that's going to be kicking off soon in conjunction with the It Takes a Village event. And this happened last year as well. But because of the success, we are going to be running an online auction. And as kind of like the fundraiser in tandem with It Takes a Village. And so we're actually looking for auction items. And the Valaris Karate Studio, martial arts, they donated something last year. This year, Lawson's Finest has already stepped up and said that they want to donate something. So, we're starting to collect items, and we're starting to, seek out that kind of support and event sponsorships. So, yeah, if anyone listening has any interest in being involved or contributing in any way, we'd love to speak with you.
What would be kind of a timeline on that for a deadline to get some items secured?
Oh, I would say anytime between now and really February.
Okay.
Yeah. We're hoping to have all of our event sponsors lined up by December because we want to start early promotions. Sure. And we want to have our sponsors all over our promotional materials, our press release, everything. And so the more lead time that we have, the more widespread we can make our promotions with sponsors listed.
Where are you going to be this weekend on Saturday in Montpelier for the Fall Festival? So
State House Lawn. We're like I said, we're still hoping to have a table there. It really depends on some volunteer support. But the Fall Festival last year that we got to participate in, when the All Brains Belong organization actually did their tabling event in conjunction with the Fall Festival. And so we were kind of part of that group. This year, All Brains Belong had their own standalone event on the State House lawn, and we did participate in that. Mm-hmm. I believe that was August 24th. That was an amazing event. The organizers of that event really know what they're doing. And I told them, I said, would it be okay if I poached some ideas on, how you did this logistically? Because this is brilliant. And they were like, absolutely. But the Montpelier Fall Festival is quite the sight to behold. There's going to be all sorts of really fun, family-friendly events there, games and activities and all sorts of good food and all of that. So we're really excited. Yeah,
Vic was great. Had him in here yesterday, and we were talking about all of it. And it's not just the great food and the great music, but it's also serving the Montpelier Roxbury public school system.
Absolutely. Yep. And it's featuring some local music, some local musical talent.
High school groups.
Absolutely. Yep.
It sounds like it's going to be a great weekend for you. And man, it's like just looking ahead here, it sounds like it's going to be a great year for you. You seem very happy to be at this post, mm-hmm. doing what you're doing now.
Absolutely. Well, I mean,
it's who you are.
Well, the one downside about being the ED is that, like I mentioned before, I don't get to interact with, I'm a very personable person. I'm very outgoing. And so to kind of be behind the scenes and doing a lot of grant writing and doing a lot of the administrative work is challenging. But again, I'm learning so much.
Sure.
I'm learning so much from some of the board members and from some of my colleagues that are just tremendous mentors. So it's really been an honor.
What's the rest of today look like for you?
Well, I'm headed to the office straight from here. and working until I've got to pick up my niece from school. And just plugging away, just doing more of the same stuff.
You are such a collaborator. You do so many things with so many other great people, and it's just so impressive to see the things that you do. Just with everything from the Aldrich Library, what you've done over there, just getting people together who are like-minded and sharing resources. That's kind of inert for you. That's who you are.
Yeah. It's I'm still involved with the Barrie Rotary Club, and we're still doing some really great stuff. And I do, the nature of my role at Norwich, what I do through Rotary, what I do with Good Beginnings. Yeah, there's certainly a common denominator of service and connecting people. So I'm always seeking those opportunities out.
Is there any room over on River Street for a couple of microphones and maybe a little podcast studio over
Oh
there?
my goodness, that would be so fun.
You should do that.
Like a little pop-up. Yes. I'll talk to Stace about that.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Because, you guys have such a great wealth of information. And it's not just Good Beginnings, but you're always promoting other resources that are like the Family Center of Washington County that are just doing good for others.
Yeah. There's so many. Like, I don't even want to start naming off anymore because I feel like I'm going to forget some. And
Sure.
But I cannot stress enough. If anyone's listening and they're either expecting or they have children or they're thinking of having children, Central Vermont is like the place to do it. And we had people at the It Takes a Village event who were visiting from like the Boston area, and they were like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" Like, they just couldn't get over how community centric this area is, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, we have just some amazing organizations and individuals doing such tremendous work and collaborating. It's, the real magic happens during the collaborations, because it's great if one person pops up and does something, but when you can start really helping each other out,
introducing folks to other services and then letting them take it from there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you know what the outcome's going to be, which is good.
It's always good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good Beginnings. Don't hesitate to reach out to Good Beginnings. And if you know someone who's expecting, this is like a no-brainer. They should be getting in touch with you guys.
Absolutely. Please send them our way, because we have, educational opportunities, we have resources, and we could offer referrals. And not to mention, like the volunteer postpartum angel program that we have. This is quite a unique service, and it can be life-changing. I mean, we have postpartum angels who are still in touch with the families that they served from 20 years ago.
Yeah, isn't that something else?
And me and my postpartum angel, we still connect, and my daughter knows her, and I mean, it's so nice.
Relationships, it's just once they're created and they foster themselves. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. I can't say enough good things about our postpartum angels. They meet every month or two to really kind of like share their stories and share their experiences and best practices. And they are just so committed to what they do.
I got to say, to close out this morning, I'm very happy for you.
Thank you.
To see what has transpired in the last year. But I also have to say, I'm not surprised that you're doing what you're doing right now, and you're doing it so well. This is something that really comes natural for you.
Thank you.
This is what you embody, and it's such a perfect match. And I was thrilled to hear that you're the new executive director of Good Beginnings.
Thank you so much.
And what are we at now? A year?
Yeah, I just celebrated a year on September 6th.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
Wow.
I'm really, really excited.
They're blessed to have you. Central Vermont is blessed to have you and Good Beginnings and your whole team. You're doing great work. Please, you know this. Come in here anytime you want.
Thank you.
Anytime you got anything going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate the
Let,
invite.
let me know, and let me know the name of your Good Beginnings podcast.
Don't go starting rumors now. I mean, if we had a funder, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, it would be a possibility for sure. But
thank you again.
Thank you
for coming in here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Our community calendar this morning, which is always brought to you by The World. Chris just walked in here a little while ago, as he does every Tuesday, and delivers The World to us. Over 22,000 people every week get The World. vt-world.com to see the online version. The fall guide was in the last week's World, which is just pick up a free copy today. Check it out. Dinner at the Legion, post 10 right here in Barrie, 5:30 tonight. They do it every Tuesday. Dine in, take out. Make sure to check the Barrie Post 10 Facebook page and The World for the menu. Bingo starts right after it at 6 o'clock. Don't forget about Meat Bingo this coming Saturday night, or Friday night, rather, the 27th at 6:30 over at the Legion. Let's see, we got the Farmers Market tomorrow here in the Granite City, 3:30. Just two left, tomorrow's and October 2nd, and I think that's going to wrap the city farmers market. We got Wing and Ding Wednesday at the VFW, post 790. I think that's on for tomorrow. Thursday's concerts and food truck in the park at Courier Park is on. This is the final one Thursday night. Donna Thunder's going to be taking the stage at 5:30. She'll be with me Thursday morning on the air to have some fun. Short track racing, of course, the Milk Bowl, the first weekend of October, qualifying Saturday, the Milk Bowl on Sunday. All of the camping information has been posted up on the Aired Out page if you want to learn about that. This weekend, of course, just echoing again here, the Montpelier Fall Festival on the Capitol Lawn from noon to 4. MontpelierFallFestival.com to see the complete schedule of entertainment and food and everything that's going to be going on there. The Cabot Cheese and Culture Fest is coming up this weekend on the Village Common from noon to 5. More great food, live music, and a great time. The Household Hazardous Waste Collection, Montpelier Department of Labor reached out to us and said, would you please promote this? It is Saturday from 9 to 1. Looking ahead, the Kitzmiller Memorial Coat Drive distribution, Saturday the 26th. Community National Bank here in Barrie from 9 to noon, and Montpelier City Hall from 9 to 2 that day on the 26th of October. And, of course, we're going to be promoting that heavily between now and then. And then looking ahead to Saturday, November 2, the 10th annual Granite City 5K Run and Walk for Veterans, the Sons of the American Legion Squadron 10 in the Barrie Elks Lodge 1535, putting this on. Listen, have a wonderful rest of your day. If you like the podcast, tell your friends, give a share, post it up, drop a comment. We love to hear from you no matter what it is that you have to say. Stay in touch with us, always live, never edited, and always real, raw, relevant, and relatable. Thanks to all of our sponsors. We're going to be talking about what's coming up this weekend over at Fontaine's Traditions at Fontaine Meadows. They got the big meat sale. We'll be pushing that heavily on the air and off the air. And shout out this morning to Optical Expressions. Went over and saw Mark Liepert yesterday, had the eye exam. All is good. Don't do anything differently, is what they said. But it was nice to have that eye exam yesterday. Quick, painless, except for the dilated eyes that I was having for the last couple of hours after I got out of the appointment, which is always fun. But good people over there, and an amazingly positive experience having that eye exam yesterday at Optical Expressions. They checked out my glasses and even cleaned them for me. Love those guys. Stay well, everyone. God bless. We'll catch you again real soon here on the Aired Out Podcast.